Just this summer, I had changed the power steering reservoir return line from the radiator to the reservoir, any O-ring that goes from the reservoir to the pump, and something started leaking again in the power steering system around the reservoir. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And this is just in the last 24 hours. Would you look at this? This is power steering fluid leaking. Now we're going to have to look into this to see what is causing this because, well, this is not good, obviously. So let's open the hood on this car and let's find out where this leak is coming from. As you can see, I already took the lid off. So now we can actually, look at this. Look at this. This is a fresh oil coming from the power steering system. And I put a mirror to it. I don't know if you can see. I don't understand. It's, once again, it's coming from the power steering. Right at the power, there's a bead of oil. I don't know if you can see it right under where the right under the reservoir, where the reservoir meets the pump. So I know it's coming from that, and I've changed the O-ring before. So, all right, well, let's change it again, and then we'll take a closer look as to what is causing this. Maybe there's a crack in the reservoir. I don't know, but not too long ago, only months ago, I changed the O-ring on this reservoir, and it was leak-free for quite some time, up until maybe until this weekend, this last weekend. I noticed there was some dripping going on, but now it's really gotten bad. Anyway, let's take this reservoir. We'll empty out the reservoir. I'll prop you up on the stand. We'll empty out the reservoir. We'll take off the reservoir again, and we'll take a closer look at this. All right, buddy. First order of business, we're gonna remove this lower shroud because tell you one thing, if it's dripping on the ground, that means this thing is full of oil. And it's gonna have to get cleaned on the inside anyway. So, and besides, I also use it as a detector, meaning if there's any oil leaks or any fluid leaks before it makes it to the ground, I can actually see it by just shining a flashlight inside of this shroud right here. And I knew about this power steering fluid leak about a week ago or so. I didn't realize it gotten this bad. I mean, this is bad. Way worse than I had anticipated. Way more than it needs to be, too. Anyway, so there are 6 fasteners. There's going to be 3 on the left, 3 on the right. And this thing will pop right out. Although this particular fastener is not coming out. This is why you wear safety glasses, buddy. This is why you wear safety glasses. So this way. Alright, this came out. Give me 2 more on this side. I gotta tell you, if there's one thing I'm not a big fan of is leaks. Maybe it's because I'm a little bit of a stickler when it comes to, man, you know what they say, cleanliness is next to godliness? Yeah, there you go. And not to mention, when you have leaks and then it attracts dirt and this and that, and before you know it, you don't even know what's leaking or isn't leaking anymore. Look at this, look at this. Oh, look at all this oil in this thing. It's, jeez, golly. All right, we're gonna have to clean this up. All right, this is out. Now let's empty out the reservoir. So after taking the bottom shroud off, I'm gonna be sucking the oil out with a syringe like this. You can find these anywhere. They're cheap. They're dental. No, I can't take this off, obviously. Ooh, let me see. If I have another one, I'll show you. So you know what these syringes that I'm using look like. They look like this. They're dental syringes. Yeah, they're tiny. They're 12 cc syringes, and this will help with pulling out the oil and emptying out the reservoir. Like so, see it? We're just going to pull all the oil out as much as possible to minimize the amount of Now the problem is that the needle in the front of the syringe, I didn't chop any of it, so it's taking a really long time to suck the oil up. So let me go ahead and trim the front of that syringe a little bit, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. You see this right here? The orifice of the syringe is so small, then sucking the oil through would take a long time. So I would do well to cut the syringe a little bit and increase the size of this orifice to expedite the extraction of the oil from the reservoir. There we go. That's better. Now we could do a much quicker job. We reinsert the tube on it like so. Hopefully it stays on. Funny thing now, it's not staying on. Let's see if it still works. It'll work. Now you'll notice that the power steering fluid is brown in color. That's because I use a Preston generic power steering fluid for this car. Now if you go to the owner's manual for this car, and I'll show you pictures of it, it calls for either a specific power steering fluid, which I'll have to show it to you because I ordered it through Auto House AZ, or you can actually use an alternate, which is ATF or Dextron 3. Now understand that the power steering system in a car is essentially an hydraulic system, and this pump builds pressure through a vein, a pump with a vein, and what this does is it facilitates, makes it easier, obviously, as you can tell when you drive the car, it makes it easier to steer the car. And that's all. This is why you can use the manufacturer recommended power steering fluid, or you could use Dextron 3, which ironically is a transmission fluid. And transmission fluid, or the transmission per se, is also an hydraulic system. So yeah, that's why you can also use Dextron 3, and I'll show you in the owner's manual where this is at. I'll show you pictures of it. All right, so as you can see, we're emptying out the reservoir with the syringe, like so. And once this reservoir is out, I'll show you how the reservoir comes off. This system here works really good too. It's just a pump from some kind of dispenser. I forget what kind of dispenser it was, and you just put it in here like so, and it sure moves a lot faster when it comes to emptying out the reservoir. So this thing is essentially empty right about now, so we can now disconnect it. It doesn't look like there's any more oil in here. We'll double check that. With our syringe, see if there's any more oil coming out. No, looks like we're good. All right, so we can now disconnect the reservoir from the pump. To disconnect the reservoir from the pump, we're going to have to disconnect the return line that goes from the radiator to the back of the pump. Then there is this bolt right here. It's going to be right in front. And last time I had to deal with this, I actually over torqued this. We might actually put an insert in here. And then there's a clip that joins the pump to the reservoir. And that's where the O-ring is. And that's what we're going to have to replace. That's the O-ring we're going to be replacing. So, okay. So let's go ahead and undo this. Now I do have a drip pan under the car right now, and I have some pig mats as well that helps with the collection of any residual oil that may spill. Okay, once you undo the clamp, with caution you remove the hose from the back of the reservoir, because mind you, this is plastic. There we go. We got the hose removed. It's okay. Like I said, we have a drip pen on the bottom. So we can now undo the bolt in the front, and I believe that's a E10. Ooh, man, this thing is on there. Okay, we got the bolt out. Here it is right here. We can now take the snap ring off the back, and I'll show. I don't know if you can see it. I'll show it to you. And here is the snap ring right here. See this ring right here? This is a ring that safeties the reservoir to the pump. Once we pop this out, we should be able to pull the pump right off. I mean, not the pump, the reservoir right off the pump, and change the O-ring on it again. Pick that looks like this. We're gonna hook it in here. There it is. And all right, that's it. The clip is off, and this reservoir is going to come right off. It's going to pour a bunch of oil everywhere, but that's, you know, that's just the way it is. I guess some pig mats and rags on the bottom, so that should collect most of the oil. Okay, the reservoir is off. After doing a careful inspection of the orifice inside the reservoir where the O-ring goes, I don't see any manufacturing defects or anything that would attribute or contribute to the leaking of this oil. I do not understand for the life of me what could possibly be causing a leak as fast as it did. I also inspected with the mirror. Here, I'll do it with you. I inspected the orifice of the duct, and there is no gouges or anything that would induce a leak on the actual pipe. So the only thing different that we're going to be doing this time, unlike the last time, besides changing the O-ring, is actually changing the oil as well, and we're going to cover that next. In your folder or file that comes with the car, there's a bunch of manuals in it. You see it? And then among the manuals, you're going to find this one right here. It's called for the factory approved service products for this particular car. And if you go at page 1213, you'll see that in the power steering section, it calls for the Mercedes-Benz power steering fluid, and it gives you this particular part number for the M-Class W163. The short version of this, it's this oil right here. This is the oil that this oil that it calls for, and it's a Phoebe, and it's essentially, if you see here, it's a where is it? 236.3 oil. Now this is a Dextron 2 for whatever reason. However, if you see here, it also says or an approved Dextron 3 automatic transmission fluid, and it sends you back to page 5. And if you go to page 5, these are all the approved Dextron 3, yes, automatic transmission fluid you can use for the power steering fluid. Now, you can use either or, you just cannot use both. So what we're going to do, we're going to change that O-ring on the reservoir, we'll put everything back together, and we're going to change the oil, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. There's different ways to go about it, but I'm not going to disconnect any further hoses more than I have to. We're just going to be putting oil in, sucking oil out, putting oil in as we turn the steering wheel from stop to stop. All right, so anyway, let's do that. Let's put the reservoir in, back in. Oh, and by the way, this is the O-ring. Now, I don't remember which part number I used last time, but this one is 000-466-1880, and it's a Euro parts. And don't eat this because according to this label down here, cancer and reproductive, it will cause cancer and reproductive harm. So I hope you don't eat this kind of stuff. Anyway, that being said, let's put this thing back together. Under closer examination, I want you to notice something. I don't know if you can see it. Here, I'm going to position myself. I want you to take a look at this. Look at that. This is the old O-ring that came out. And look at that pattern. It's not a flat pattern on the face of the O-ring. Let me see. I need you to see this because this could be the reason why. See it right there? See that S-shaped groove on the seal? That could create a pathway for oil to leak out. Now, mind you, a while back, I had replaced the reservoir, but it hadn't leaked for a very long time. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, I'm going to show you where that is inside the reservoir. Inside the reservoir, it will be right in that corner right there. If you look carefully, it's not a super... let me see if you can see this. You see it right there? That's where the O-ring was sitting right there. I was looking at that earlier. I didn't think much of it. And I said, that can't be it. You know? That can't be it. So anyway, that could be the reason why this started leaking again, because I want to show you something. Ta-da! Made in China. See, this says made in China? Yeah, this is not the original OEM component that had changed a while back. There could very well be a manufacturing issue. Now, I don't have a reservoir at hand, but if this starts leaking again, we are going to replace this and spend maybe an extra couple of dollars and go with an OEM reservoir. Anyway, that being said, let's put this unit all back together. All right, now here's the new O-ring that we are installing, and now I'll have you know that experience has taught me that the best way to install this is not only to use a lubricant on the O-rings itself, but also to actually install the O-ring inside the reservoir before you insert the reservoir on the whatchamacallit, on the pump itself, because for whatever reason, when you put this in here first, instead of putting it on a shank of the pump, this does not go on as easy. So, if memory serves me correct, now this should slip right in, no problems. Let's verify that. And mind you, let's put some, before we do this, let's put some Vaseline on the shank as well of the, you know, you would do well to do something smart and put some kind of rag or something so oil doesn't spill on the belt like I've been doing, because you're definitely not trying to put oil all over this belt and it starts slipping and making noise and so on and so forth. We don't want that. Let's try to avoid that. So anyway, that being done, like I was saying, let's put some lubricant on the pump itself, so to facilitate the insertion, so that this thing goes in nice and easy. So now we can put the reservoir in, and you'll know that the reservoir is in once this part here of the pump, see this part right here of the, I don't know if you can see it, this part here of the pump aligns with the grooves of, the reservoir aligns with the grooves of the pumps. All right, so let's slide this baby in, and then I'll show you how we're going to change the oil on this thing. Sorry, you can't quite see everything. This should slip right in theoretically, but every time I've had to do this particular job, which is the inserting of the reservoir on the, it hasn't been the easiest task for whatever reason. It doesn't quite slip on easily, and this time is proven to be no different. Oh, here it is. Finally took it. All right, so the reservoir is on. We can now put the circlip, which is this one right here. You see, this is what it looks like, and it goes right in the groove. Like so. And the last time I used a wood or even some kind of scrape or something, anything to push that circlip in. So this time I'm going to use a piece of plastic that looks like this. I'm just going to pry against the just going to push against the circlip, and that should go right in. It should, right? It's not always that easy though. There it is, it's in. Alright, so we can now connect the hose. Alright, so that's in. Alright, let me relocate you so you can see everything here. Alright, so the hose is in. I mean, the hose is in. We didn't tighten it yet, but let's not worry about that right now. What we want to do is, I'm going to put this bolt in. I'm going to clean it. I'm going to put some gentle Loctite on it. It's a mild Loctite. I think it's called 242. It's you can't quite see it because the label is worn out. Here it is. Here, I'm going to use some Loctite 242. It's a blue Loctite for this bolt right here. The torque on this is 70.8 inch-pounds. Nothing crazy. As soon as it's snug, it's good enough. You don't have to get wild and crazy with this particular bolt right here. All it does is hold the reservoir in place. There it is, like so. If you end up borrowing tools from your local auto parts store, make sure that their stuff is in good operating condition, because, for example, if you borrow a torque wrench that it's loaded when you borrow it, that means who knows how long it's been loaded. Because when you store a torque wrench, you're supposed to set it back to 0. We said it was 70.8 inch-pounds. We're just going to go to 70 inch-pounds. Should be more than enough for this job. 70 inch-pounds. Here we go. Let's torque this baby down. All right, we're there. That's it. It's torqued. No mas. All right, so now we can fill the reservoir and actually bleed the system. So let's do that. We're going to fill it up all the way, and then we're going to go from stop to stop on the steering wheel. Well, because mind you, the front wheels of this car are currently jacked up. So once we, first of all, we got to tighten that hose too. We haven't done that yet. Hopefully this thing doesn't leak. If not, we'll just change. I guess we're going to have to change the reservoir because something is not right on this system. You know, many times does one have to change the O-ring? I just changed this 8 months ago. How can it be leaking again? That's my quarrel with all this. All right, so now we're ready to change the oil on it. Let's do that. So now we can pour in the oil. We're going to overfill actually until the top of the reservoir, because what we're going to do is we're going to purge the old oil out of the system with the new oil, and they're going to blend together. This is why I bought 2 liters worth of stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix it, and then we're going to remove the oil from the reservoir with that pump I showed you earlier. With the engine off, the wheels off the ground, we're going to go from lock to lock. And then just suck the oil out with the pump and put new oil in, and just keep doing that until the oil is of the color that you see. It should be nice and clean by the time we... Ooh, that was a little too much there. I think I way over-serviced it, but it's all right. You know, it was suck some of it out with the syringe. Yeah, we definitely overdid this. See, when the oil starts looking like this, it's when you know that you've changed the oil properly in the system. Because right now it's dark brown in the system, and it's not happy about that. So we're just gonna, like I said, we're gonna use 2 quarts of oil. That should be enough. I'm going to put the cap on it as a precautionary measure in case this thing decides it wants to squirt all over the place. Anyway. All right, let's move the steering wheel lock to lock. All right, I just did it from lock to lock 10 times with the engine off, and it's still spilled over, but as you can tell, you see the oil is still brown. So I'm just mixing the old oil with the new oil. And so after doing 10 times lock to lock, I'm now going to pull out the oil out of the reservoir, and I'm going to put in a new oil again. All right, this is our second time from lock to lock with the front end jacked up, engine off. Moving the steering wheel, and we're going to siphon out this oil as well, see how it looks. And it's still looking a little brown. The color looks better. It looks better every time, but you can still tell that there's still old oil in the system, obviously. This is going to take several times. And here we go. All right, we have done this enough times that while the car was on jacks and we went from lock to lock with the steering wheel about 6-7 times, and we went through about 1 3/4 liters of power steering fluid. So what we did, we topped it off to the max ambient temperature. I don't know if you could tell, but on this dipstick there are 2 sets of lines. One is ambient temperature. I don't know if you can see it. 1 min-max ambient temperature and 1 min-max at the operating temperature. Right now it's topped off at max ambient temperature. We're going to start it up. We're going to run it. We're going to check for leaks. We're going to take it for a test drive, make sure everything is leak-free. And if there's any problems, obviously, we're going to have to address it. But essentially, the job is done. The oil looks good. I'm happy with it. It won't be fully flushed because there's always going to be a minimal of the old oil in the car. But by and large, the new oil is the oil in the power steering system. So like I said, we're going to start it up, take it for a ride, leak check it, make sure we reach operating temperature, top it off if need be, and when we're all said and done, we're also going to do this. We're going to clean this. We're going to clean this bottom shroud of all the oil and put it back on when we get back from the test drive. As always, my friend, if this video was of help to you, share with your friends, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you at the next one. Take care. Have a good one.